Hi there guys, and welcome to another episode of the Cover Zero Show with me, your host Simon Conboy. This episode will be a Week 1 game preview covering the game between the Oakland Raiders visiting the Tennessee Titans, which I think is one of the better matchups, and who would have thought we'd be saying that a couple of years ago. There's two teams that have been on the I suppose trash heap for a while. Last year was a big jump for both teams. It looked much improved, and now it looks like they're both ready to take the step to being potentially perennial contenders in the AFC. So I am looking forward to this one. I think they've got a lot of similarities, these two teams. So we'll start with, I guess, the Raiders offense and the Titans defense. So from the Oakland side of things, the offensive line looks really good. I've got a couple of concerns. Right tackle's not great. Austin Howard there, mediocre at best. And the left tackle spot, Donald Penn's a very good player, but he's had a holdout, and apparently he is not looking his healthiest. As a Buccaneers fan, I'm familiar with this. The larger version of Donald Penn is an issue that rears its head from time to time. So I think that could potentially be an issue, particularly against a team that does have two very competent and potent edge rushers in Derek Morgan and Brian Orakpo. So that has to be a slight concern, I think, if you're the Raiders heading into this game. You don't really have a blocking tight end to necessarily help them out. Marshawn Lynch is a good pass blocker, so that could potentially be a big deal. But you're really hoping it's not in that situation. Along the interior, however, I do think they're just going to have too much for these Titans. I've heard some mixed things about how Jarrell Casey's going to be used this year. Last year used at end. He's by far this team's best defensive lineman. He's a very, very good player, disruptive in the pass game, stout in the run game. If they move him to nose tackle, I understand it. It's a Dick LeBeau defense. You know, you want your big Casey Hampton type nose tackle there, clogging up running lanes. And I do think Casey, whilst he's smaller in stature, I think he can do that job. I think he can two-gap effectively. But I do think it will diminish what I think is his overall game. And that's his great strength, is his ability to play both ways as a rusher and a run defender. But they don't really have too many other options. Other than him, they're very thin on the defensive line. Sylvester Williams has been brought over. He's been a perennial, disappointment. Austin Johnson's just a guy. So I think that could be a problem, particularly when you're talking about going up against the front like this, where you've got Kelechi Osemele. And how could I forget the other game? Gabe Jackson. Yeah, it's a good pair of guards. So yeah, I think this is a place where they've got a big advantage. If Marshawn Lynch is 80% of what we saw in Seattle at his best, I think that could be a real problem. The Titans also not too strong up the middle, not great at the tackles. The linebacker position, Avery Williamson's a speedy tackling guy, but I do worry about his ability. If you've got these linebackers getting to him, I think that's going to be tough. Bringing a guy like Marshawn Lynch down in the open field's never easy either. So I think that could potentially be a major weakness for this Titans team. And then you've got the secondary. I mean, the Raiders are fantastic on the edges. Crabtree had a really good season last year. Amari Cooper's an incredibly talented young player. I expect to see improvement from this year. See a big leap. He's already a very good player. And they've got some talent at tight end as well. So I think that's going to be a problem, because this Titans secondary has been a mess for a while now, and I'm not sure how much better they're going to be this year, particularly early in the season. Logan Ryan's come over. He's definitely an improvement on what they had. But in New England, he was used primarily as a slot corner. I don't think that's going to be the case here. Whether he can match up with these guys out on the outside in man-to-man, I'm not so sure. You'll see him play in zone a lot, of course, because that's what Dick LeBeau does. So that's going to be a tough one. Adoree Jackson, this is just a tough first game for him. Either one of those guys, I think, will have their way with him. And then the safety position, they brought over Jonathan Cyprien from Jacksonville. He's better against the run than the pass, so I think he's going to have his hands full just trying to keep, help out with Marshawn Lynch. Kevin Byard's in a bit of an unknown at safety, so I'm certainly going to be interested to see how he does. I think he's going to have to play well in this game, because I do think the corners are going to need a lot of help dealing with these guys. So I think that's going to be a major problem. If you're the Raiders, I think you can pretty much just attack this team with a good balanced attack. You match up well with them. Your interior is strong. I don't think expect the Titans to be great against the run again this year. And your receivers, frankly, should just have the ability to win a lot of matchups on the outside. Carr, you can trust him not to make too many bad decisions. So I think you can stick to what you did last year. I think the Titans will have a tough time dealing with it. Now, in terms of the Titans, how they're going to have to approach the game, I think they're going to have to be a little bit creative in terms of how they try to get blitzer, whether that's stunting, whether that's some heavy blitzing, which you don't often see from LeBeau. Whilst he's got a reputation for the whole Blitzberg thing, they don't bring large numbers. So I think they may have to stray from that a little bit, bring 6 or 7 on some plays, because I just do not think they can allow Derek Carr to just sit there. This secondary is not good enough to hold up if Derek Carr's given time. So I think they're going to have Morgan and Arakpo are really going to be the keys, and Jarrell Casey as well. They're going to have to get their pressures in. The tackle situation does help. I think Donald Penn's holdout is potentially a massive boon to the Titans and gives this defence more of a chance. But I don't see them slowing the Raiders down too much. I think Carr's going to have a big performance. I think the bevy of running backs will get enough done on the ground, and the level of balance and the overall quality of the Raiders' offence will lead to a productive overall day. And the Titans, they'll get better as the season goes on defensively, but I just think having this entirely brand new secondary in this first game, it's not particularly easy, especially when I think they're going to struggle to deal with the run also. On the other side of the ball, it's a similar thing. I really like the build of this Titans offense, much like the Raiders. They've got one of the best offensive lines in the league. In a slightly different way, they've got 2 of the best tackles in the league, arguably the best tandem. The interior is not quite as good, but it's still solid. It's a good 5. And got a young quarterback, doesn't make too many mistakes, and he's got a bevy of receivers. Now, where I think the difference here lies, Carr's got some experience with these guys. This year, Mariota's got some new targets, but that's the key, they're new. Other than Delaney Walker, and nobody's been with him for more than a year that's going to be catching passes this year. So I think that's another thing that may impact the Titans early this year. Corey Davis has barely practiced. Eric Decker didn't join the team till fairly late. He's also missed a bunch of practice. And those are the 2 you'd expect to be the starting receivers. Now, I think the Raiders are very, very soft defensively. Outside of Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin, I think they've got a lot of issues. They've got some good young players in the secondary. I think that safety pairing when Mullafomu gets back off IR and Cole Joseph will end up being very good, but they're certainly not there yet. I think they're soft at corner. David Amerson and Sean Smith are not an inspiring pair at this point in time. So if Mariota can get on the same page and these tackles can do their job, I think there's definitely going to be the ability to get a lot of production. Similarly, I've got no idea what the Raiders are going to look like at linebacker, frankly. It's a whole bunch of unknowns there. Mariota loves attacking the middle of the field via Delaney Walker, via slants. I think he could certainly have a big day there. And then, the bread and butter of this team is the power run game with Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. And once again, outside of the Irvin and Mack, it's hard to see him slowing them down too much. So I can see a lot of production happening there. Khalil Mack's going to make his plays. He's just that kind of player. He's absolute dynamite in the run game. He's a very, very good pass rusher. I expect him to be even better this year because I think he'll have refined his game a little more as a technician in that side, on that side of things. But it's just hard to see where the productivity is going to come from. Eddie Van Doss, I think, is going to have a big job trying to help shore this team up against the run. But what this will come down to, this matchup for me, is the play of these linebackers. I don't know if Jelani Jenkins is going to be seeing the field. I think letting Perry Riley go looks like a bit of a mistake. So you never know. They could end up being effective, but I'm just not so sure. I think Cole Joseph, he's a thumper. He's going to need to be in the box. I think he's going to need to have a good game. I will expect to see a lot of 8-man fronts from the Raiders, of course. This is the kind of team where I do think Mariota is going to have the benefit of, especially early on in the season, a lot of teams trying that. So whether he can, if they can keep that run game still productive, with that being the case, they'll be able to get some play action going. Then they might be able to stretch the field, bearing in mind they've got some speed on the outside this year with the addition of, Jonnu Smith's a tight end that can run. I don't know how many snaps he'll realistically see. But then you've got the other rookie whose name I always forget every time I'm on the darn show. But either way, yeah, he's got the potential to really stretch the field for this team. And I just do not like this Raiders secondary or the entire back seven at all, frankly. So, again, I expect the Titans to attack this team up the middle. I think attacking the edges is a bit difficult. Irvin and Mack are both very good against the run. I think they'll do a good job setting the edge. So I'm just expecting some straight ahead, one cut, power running up those A gaps. I say Vandos is going to have a big game. I think Joseph's going to have to help these backers out, and they're going to need to be disciplined, and they're going to need to tackle well. Otherwise, this entire offense opens up, and they're going to have to cover over the middle effectively as well. I think it's going to be tough sledding for both of these defenses. So as a result, I see this game being a bit of a shootout, and for that reason, I can see this one definitely going either way. Could just be a case of whoever gets turnovers. Neither one of these teams does turn the ball over too often. If one were to happen, I suppose maybe I'd favour the Titans in that regard. I think their defence will be a little bit more creative, a little bit more confusing, and I do think they're going to be able to get a bit more pass rush in this game than the Raiders will. And I think that's going to be the key. If they can get constant pressure on Carr, or just enough of it to slow them down a bit and force them into some errors, then I think the Titans will take this game. Considering the news with the tackle situation, I have talked myself into the Titans. I said the Raiders earlier on in the week, simply because, and I still think it could be the case. I think this one's a coin flip for me, depending how I feel on the day. And the reason I went Raiders earlier in the week, and if you watched the round table, you'll know I have more confidence in Derek Carr in a shootout situation. That's what I'm expecting this game to be. I think both these defences are going to take a while to find themselves. I don't think there's a huge amount of talent on these teams outside of the pass rushing aspect of things. I trust Carr and his weapons just that bit more to get the job done. Mariota's not got a lot of experience with him. Rashard Matthews, and Delaney Walker, the only guys he's worked with previously. So I think that's going to... Tywan Taylor, that's the speedy guy. If he can make a couple of big plays, then I think that'll help the Titans' cause. But Derek Carr's got the experience there, and they've got some players on defence, in Irvin and Mack, that can change the game with one play rushing the passer. So, yeah, there we go. I'm going to go with the Titans. Sticking with it. They're at home. There's high expectations. I think the Raiders may have a couple of issues protecting. Both teams have the ball a ton. I think maybe just one big mistake opens this game up towards the end, and I think the Titans managed to put it away with a more consistent run game and a bit more productivity from the pass rush. Definitely could go either way. Looking forward to this matchup a lot. So there you have it. Let me know, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments section, the Cover Zero Facebook page, or find me on Twitter at Simon Conboy. Always happy to talk football. Looking forward to week one weekend. Shame my lot aren't playing, but thoroughly enjoyed last night's game. Got a couple of other game previews. I've also got season previews for every team up, so check those out. A couple more game previews. Turns out doing every game was a bit ambitious. And it's probably going to be the same with doing game reviews. But I've already got the game review up for the season opener. Check that out. And if you could like, share, subscribe, check out the Patreon. That'll all be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure as always. Have a great evening. And go Bucks.